everyone. I'm Heather Stillman, and on behalf of the Authors at Google team here in LA, I'm honored to introduce you today to my cousin, Karen Krasne, the owner and executive chef of Extraordinary Desserts. She will be speaking today about her recent book, Extraordinary Cakes. Her cakes have graced the cover of Bon Appetit, and Forbes recognized her as one of the country's 10 best pastry chefs. She has been featured in New York Times, Gourmet, Sunset, and the Los Angeles Times, among other publications. In 1988, Karen opened Extraordinary Desserts in San Diego. A year later, the eatery was in such demand that Karen was able to expand from 10 seats to 65 seats, and in 2004, she opened a second location in San Diego's Little Italy. Karen graduated with a degree from the University of Hawaii in food and human nutrition and went on to study pastry making at Le Cordon Bleu in Paris, France. She has brought some of these fabulous desserts to share with us today. And now, Karen Krasne.
Thank you. So I'm just going to kind of start with the concepts of what Extraordinary Desserts is and what it's become. And when we started in 1988, we just did desserts at our one location that now seats 100, and it's desserts 7 days a week. And then we opened a second location in Little Italy where we seat about 225 people. And both locations are open till about 11 at night, midnight on the weekends. And at the bigger location, we do have food and wine, paninis and alcohol and things like that, so that we don't just have the desserts. So we become two different places that people love to go to, one or the other, and they're really fanatical about which one they prefer. So it's interesting because some like the original, as it's known, and some like the new. So I want to go back a little bit on my background. I know Heather touched on it. I am born and raised in San Diego, and then I took off at about 17 for Hawaii, and somehow got a degree about 8 years later. And it was human nutrition, and it was under the tropical ag genre at the University of Hawaii. So I think that's where a lot of my tropical agriculture comes in here. And from there, you pretty much, this is way, way back in the old days, so you sort of had to go on and get a master's in public health or things like that, and it just didn't really sound like that was good for me. So I took off to France and spent about a year and a half there at different schools. Cordon Bleu was one of them. And then came back to San Diego and started making cakes for like Neiman Marcus and some other very high-end establishments, and just sort of dropped off, basically peddling to them, and built a clientele enough so that I could open up a little store that had 10 seats. And from there, the 10 seats grew to 65, and then 100, and then the second store, and so on and so forth. So I don't know, we're in about 22 years of business at this point, and I decided to write the book, which took maybe 2 years to write. And I felt it was like necessary to document the type of work that we do, because it is so different from what you see pretty much anywhere in the States, and then likewise in Europe, where I just was for a couple of weeks and just got back about 10 days ago. So what I think that we do that's so different is we really tried to use a lot of color and a lot of fresh whatever is going on in the market in terms of flowers and fruits and whatnot. And we also try to do a spin on flavors so that it's not just the typical things that you would expect, chocolate with raspberries. We infuse things, we use herbs, we use a lot of yuzu, we use matcha tea. We tend to follow the patterns of desserts that are going on more, say, in the East Coast, because I am in New York quite a bit, and then in Paris, where I think is where pastry is really been born and is really studied and is really has a metamorphosis beyond anywhere else that I've ever seen. So I just finished a class over there which we call stages, and it was 3 days and 80 hours, and 3 days, 80 recipes, 35 hours. And it was really, really incredible what is happening, that is the same as it was 25 years ago, but it's just become more flavorful, more simplified, less sugar, less fat. They're following the same buzzwords we're following here, but it's introduced in a way that's a little bit more elegant over there. Nobody feels like they're skipping or missing something. So today I thought that I would make probably the easiest recipe in the book. The recipes tend to take about 2 or 3 days for preparation because they're cakes and then creams and then different layers that you build on it, and then you end up freezing the product, and then you take it out the day you're going to serve it and you finish it up so it's nice and hard when you finish it, so you get really clean edges like these cakes over here. If you try to make a cake and put the frosting in it, put the next cake layer on it, and then frost it and put another, and then you try to finish it, I mean, it's all gobbledygook and uneven, and you know, people always wonder, how are your cakes so perfect? It's because they had a stage where they got to be frozen for 8 hours to 12 hours to overnight. And that's one of the key things in the book. But not everybody has 2 or 3 days to make a cake, and so there's a few things in the book. One is the bread pudding. I'm also going to show you, not show you how to make it, but this is an element in the book, this white chocolate mousse. And instead of having to make the cake that might take 3 days, you could just make the mousse. And I've simply either put it in a large form in a glass, so you could use any kind of a wine glass, goblet, that kind of thing. Or these are simple votive candles that you can pick up at Smart and Final. You can be as creative as you want with some of the elements of the book and not have to make cakes with them. So I try to break it down so that it does seem like you want to try for some of the hard projects, but then at the same time I don't want to make it so, you know, full of effort that you don't even want to open the book. So the bread pudding basically has about 5 ingredients in it, and so I take the cream and the milk, I just put it together in the pot, and I hope I have heat going. Seems like it. Okay, and then the sugar is going in the bowl with the egg yolks. And I don't know if you all use vanilla beans or if you use vanilla extract, but you can use vanilla extract, or if you're using a vanilla bean, you definitely want it at room temperature so it's really nice and pliable. And then when you cut it open, you're gonna use a sharp little knife like this to cut it open, and then when you scrape out the meat, you use the back of the knife, not the sharp, because you don't want the pith, which would be like getting the pith from an orange or a lemon that's kind of bitter. So it's real important that your knife is nice and sharp to cut open the bean like this, and then it's going to expose this really glistening sort of dark meat, and those are the seeds, and that's the most delicious part and the reason why you pay so much for a vanilla bean. So once I have that out, I just go ahead and I put it in the pot in the cream and the milk, and then I put the whole bean in there as well. And then I've got my yolks and my sugar going here, and I just mix those up. And we're gonna wait for the cream and the milk to come to almost a boil. And then we'll pour that into the egg yolk mixture. We'll strain it, and that's basically the creme brulee. So that's an element that you could take as creme brulee and put it in little porcelain dishes and bake it off in a water bath in the oven. And you don't even have to go further into this other aspect of it. One of the things that I do use are, that make this a little bit easier for you, is their store-bought croissants. And you need about 10 of this size. And you know, if they're kind of beigey, not real baked off, go ahead and put them back in your oven and bake them real firm, because they're going to soak up all this creme brulee and get nice and crusty, and it's nice and juicy. So the flat ones that are, you know, not real bronzed color, you definitely want to bake those again. And probably put them in at about, I don't know, 350 for about 10 minutes and get them nice and colored. And you'll see that you can see inside of the croissant, you see all the texture in it. When they're real mushy and, you know, like someone flattened them out, they're not going to be as fabulous. So you definitely want this puffier kind of. Yes?
So how drastic is the difference between using real vanilla versus vanilla syrup or even fake
know. So the question is about a vanilla bean versus an extract of fake vanilla syrup. Well, I mean, your desserts are only as good as your product. So I don't know that in this it's a deal breaker to use a real vanilla bean, but if you're making vanilla ice cream, if you're making vanilla mousse, if you're making vanilla sauce, that would be when I would say you probably should go buy the vanilla beans. But in this kind of a situation, I'm using such good chocolate, and this is Valrhona, and I don't know if all of you know about Valrhona chocolate, but it's from the Rhone region in the Val area of France, and it's there's probably, I don't know, 25 different grades of chocolate, anything from 50% all the way up into 82%, and you can pick and choose your flavors. We sell 10 different styles at Extraordinary Desserts. I'm sure you can find it here at Surface, but it's excellent chocolate, and the one I'm using today is 61%, and it just has a really true chocolate flavor. No berries or jasmine or coffee notes in it. It's just real clear chocolate. Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, so these are going to be our filler, the chocolate and the croissants, and once this is finished, we'll put half of the creme brulee in the bottom. I use this in the book, this kind of a mold, and you can either use this kind of a thing or you can use an oval. Here's what this one ends up becoming like this. It's great for a brunch buffet. This is great family style. It's really however you want to present it. You can also build them in little dishes that are porcelain like that. Same kind of a thing. You just put the creme brulee in, put the croissants in, put the chocolate, layer it again like that, and bake it off, and you're right there. So while we're waiting for this, I don't know if anybody has any questions about desserts in general or have an issue with something that's not working out. But I'm not shy, so ask me.
First of all, thank you so much for being here. I actually came to your store many times. Is it working? Okay. Many times in San Diego. But my question was regarding to something you said earlier about sort of the trend in Europe is now to actually reduce sugar, reduce fat in the desserts. And what I saw is like, cream and sugar. So this one is definitely not, but is your store now offering more of these things? I haven't been recently yet.
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely offering a lot more of vegan, gluten-free kinds of products because it's a huge buzz in all of foods in general. I mean, we, in our downtown location, we do make a lot of vegan foods as well in the salty section of the store. But there's always vegan cookies available, and there's always something that's gluten-free because it has become such a big thing. I'm not one that will just make something vegan or gluten-free just to be in the market. I want it to be as good as the other product, and so that I might choose either or. And so it's taken me a little bit longer to come up with those products that I think are just as high quality in flavor and texture. Sugar-free is on my deck. And it's just kind of a scary thing because, you have to use like maltitol, which is I just don't even like the TOL at the end, It's just, so I kind of shy away from it. But these products, like for example, this is a white chocolate mousse with berries in it and it's gluten-free. So it just depends. It's not low in fat. It's high in flavor, So it's just, again, choosing which route, I think that being said, I think, desserts is about like enjoying and, over the top, and it's not to be done every day, and so when you go for it, you kind of want to go for it and you want to really get something fabulous at the end of it. So. Okay, I've got hot cream and milk. Well, almost to a boil. Sometimes I don't like to bring it to a boil because it creates a skin. Okay. Okay, this is not for the faint, this spot. So you just mix it up, stir it all together. Sorry? Nope. You don't even, you don't need a mixer for this. You don't need, this is like, this is, friends are coming over. Oh my gosh, what am I gonna make? And then I need to strain it. Let's see. Oh my gosh, okay. Well, okay, it's a double bowl. We'll deal with it. Deal with it. So I'm just gonna strain it through here. And what that does is it collects all the potential egg yolk that coagulated, that wouldn't be nice and creamy smooth. Because let's say you do want this for creme brulee, you don't want to make bread pudding. You definitely want everything to be strained out of here. And it's nice to have, like at the end, you've got all the grains from that vanilla, all the seeds, and it's good to have all that in there and people see that you're using real vanilla beans. So, I think this will be easy to see. So we're gonna put half of it into the bottom. And then half of the croissants. And then I take, this is 2 cups of chocolate, so it's a lot of chocolate. So even if your croissants aren't flavorful, they will be. And then I go ahead and I take the rest of the croissants and put it on it. So it's like you're building a sandwich.
Can I ask why you have the tin foil on there?
Because otherwise my creme brulee is gonna seep out. So while we were testing this for the book, it seeped out a few times. I'm like, this isn't gonna be good from the bottom because this has a push out bottom.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna put this in here. And then you just go ahead and fill up. So it seems like, oh my gosh, it's a lot of liquid, but that's why it's so wonderfully custardy, and then the chocolate's melted, and we make this every day at the store, and every day I walk by it and I go, is anybody looking? And then I grab, because the best part is this like real crusty. And then that's it, you just put it in the oven, you bake it off, you can cool it, and then it'll pop right out and turn into this, and then you can slice it and sauce it and serve it. So if I were having you over for dinner and I was going to plate the bread pudding, what we do at the store and what I like to do is I just take like some vanilla anglaise, which is in the book, and the chocolate sauce, it's in the book as well. And I'm pretty simple. I like to just sort of swirl them and marble the plate, and then take a scoop of the bread pudding that's nice and warm, and you can also microwave this if you want. And it really depends what size you want. You get a little bit larger at Extraordinary Desserts. And then I tend to go in the yard and grab whatever's growing, edible or not. And then I put that on the side of the plate. And then if you want, I mean, it depends how fussy you want to get. If you want to sprinkle the powdered sugar on the side of the plate, this is a tea strainer, a fork, the sugar, and you can do it on anything you like. And then basically you have a finished product that you can serve. And then the same thing goes likewise for if you're building the mousse in the cup, and it's from the Ivoire that's it's a white chocolate mousse that's in a cake in the book. You can build the white chocolate mousse, put your fresh berries in the center, and then some more white chocolate mousse, and then I finished it off with some raspberry gelée, which could be the raspberry sauce in the book with a little gelatin in it. And then if you want to put strawberries on it and raspberries, or if you want to just, you could take a rose, and my staff gets crazy. They love the flowers, and so we just do whatever, however. There's no absolute, it's just pick colors you like and kind of go for it. And then I use that same gel that I used on the top, and I just paint the strawberry so it looks like it's more luscious. And then you can put that on there, and you know, you're really going for it. It's Valentine's Day. So you break out the edible 23 3/4 gold leaf. And then you end up with a cup like that. So it's pretty easy. You could use the gold on your plate. Good morning, honey, here's your croissant and your jam. Put the gold on the croissant. I mean, you know. So the book is meant to give you lots of artistic freedom and just give you color options and ways to think about presenting things that make people really want to eat it. So what else can I answer before we're going to eat?
Hi, thank you for coming today. I have two questions.
Sure.
One is, I see that you graduated from Le Cordon Bleu and you travel back to Paris frequently. Where would you recommend for a great croissant or desserts in Paris?
Let's see. The one that I was at that was my favorite this last time, I went and bought 4 pieces of cake and I ate all 4 of them in the same few hours. It's called Le Rêve de Pâtisserie.
Okay.
And you can always email me, but that was like my very favorite. And then, of course, I went to a few more and bought a few pieces and ate those, you know, because I'm dissecting. But that one was really wonderful.
Awesome. I'll be there really soon.
All right, good.
The second question is, do you use ultra pasteurized milk and cream? And if you do you find a difference in the taste in your desserts?
Well, you know, I'm not sure if it's ultra pasteurized. It's organic milk that we use. We use all organic milk. And for the heavy whipping cream, it is ultra pasteurized. You know, I don't know that it has a better flavor. I know that the cream that we use has a higher fat content. So that means it might have more flavor. I do like to use organic products whenever I can. It was absolutely not affordable to have the cream organic. We did the math on it, and it became $3,500 extra a month to make that switch. And so if I had to pass that on to my clients, I'd probably be shutting my doors. So, you know, you just do what you can with organics. But flavor-wise, I think we're really happy with the product that we use, and it is ultra pasteurized.
Thank you.
I have another question. How do you roll the chocolate?
Well, this we take a tray like this kind of a tray, and we stick it in the oven. We heat it just a little bit, just kind of warm to touch. And then we have our liquid chocolate, and we sort of put it over the top here. And then once it just starts to cool, we can put it in the refrigerator. We pull it out and we wait to get it a little bit like tacky, and then you use like a paint scraper. And I think that's in the book. It is in the book. Yeah. I'm like, what? I can't remember. Anybody else? All right. So I think I am having a helper come and help me plate, right? So what I'll do too is I can start cutting some of the cakes, because I think we can do that before. Yeah, oh, that's a good point. Okay. So the cake over here on the far right is a Linzer, and it's in the book, and it actually is in the holiday section. The book is split between seasons, and every quarter, summer, winter, that type of thing. This is in winter, and it's white chocolate buttercream with hazelnut almond cakes with fresh raspberries, and then a homemade raspberry jam. So it has sort of an Austrian play on it with all the nuts in it. It's a wonderful wedding cake because as it sits out at room temperature, the nuts and the white chocolate sort of warm up. So it's a great cake to drive from San Diego to LA. It has no problem making that trip. And then next to it are some of these white chocolate mousses with the raspberries on it. And then we have the bread pudding. And this is probably the most popular cake at the store. It's called the Viking. And it has a chocolate creme brulee in the bottom of it with a milk chocolate whipped cream and then chocolate pralines in it and chocolate cake. It's called the Viking because it's pretty intense, it's hearty. And again, this is like another one that's really easy to take from San Diego to LA and not have any problem. You know, I travel everywhere around the world with a cake. I mean, that's just what, you know, if I'm going somewhere, people, it's sort of my calling card. So I tend to make things that can make long drives, and the ones that are like the whipped cream and the fruits and the berries, I mean, you can still drive that from San Diego up to this area because it's out for 2 hours, as long as it's not a Santa Ana and it's 100 degrees out and you're stuck in traffic for 4 hours. So even though the cakes, they're not that fragile, you know, you shouldn't be scared of them in terms of.
What is that in?
What is what in?
The cake, like what do you put the cake
Oh, in a box.
Just in a box?
Yeah, these are, each of these cakes is on a cardboard bottom, and then it usually is on a doily, cardboard round, and then it just goes in a box. So it's pretty easy. I once went to Sydney for New Year's, and the plane stopped in Honolulu, and I got out, checked into a hotel for half a day, put the cake in the refrigerator, went for a run, came back, got the cake, boarded the plane for Sydney, and showed up to the New Year's Eve party, and it was the Linzer, and it was perfect. I got the flowers in Honolulu, I remember that. So yeah, you can, they travel. Yeah, you can't, we don't ship, but they do travel, yeah. So, unless there's any other questions, I'll start cutting and, yeah.
So I'm curious, you went to school, and how did you decide that, you know, cakes was the thing that you wanted to do?
Well, I think because when I was in college, I was so entrenched in science that this other side started to happen. And I think from being, my mom was a great entertainer. So I think I saw that early on in life, and my grandmothers were as well. And I've always been a vegetarian, so learning to be a chef with meat stocks and things like that did not interest me. And this just seemed like a painter's palette, you know, all the color. And after having lived in Honolulu, and then I lived in Mexico and as well in Paris, I mean, those are just really colorful, bountiful places and smells, and, you know, so.
And do you find that a lot of the inspiration for, you know, your designs and the things you make are that you take classes and go visit places, or where do you find a lot of the inspiration?
Well, it's not good for me to be landlocked. You know, I do have to get out quite a bit. I can find inspiration pretty much anywhere I go, even if it's just a Sunday at home with some magazines. But I really find the most inspiration in Asia, in Asian countries. I mean, I love Bali, just the use of the different freshly grown clove and you know, the coffee beans there, and the flowers and the essences and the teas. That's a great place. But really anywhere that I get away from my regular day-to-day job and people being able to call me with the random breakdowns of a restaurant. Because, you know, I have 110 employees, and I'm a sole proprietor, so it's kind of a heavy burden on the back some days. So if I can just get away, just even like, it took me 4 planes to get back from Paris to San Diego this last trip, just because it was just a real mess. And I was fine, because I'm like reading my books of new recipes. I brought all these French books back, and I'm like, oh, 5 hours in Madrid, not a problem, you know, and oh, an overnight in New York, okay, you know. And so just being by myself and quiet is inspirational. So, yeah.
Okay. So the lemon ricotta cake is by far my favorite. I like all the citrus flavors in it. Where did you start, or what were your interests when you started, and how have they progressed over time?
Well, in terms of flavors,
Yeah.
The lemon ricotta is one of the older, there's a family of ricottas. And there's the lemon ricotta, the passion fruit ricotta, and the blood orange ricotta. And most of my cakes come from like family members or friends having a birthday, and I don't feel like bringing the same stock cake, so I have to kind of come up with something. So that's where a lot of the same cakes are used, but other different flavor conceptions are put together with them. I think when I started, I probably was a little more straightforward with my flavors because I was living in Mexico, and it was back before they were able to import a lot of things, so I got lemon, and I was able to get hazelnuts. So my Linzer was a little bit different, but the Linzer's been around for about 22 years, the lemon ricotta as well, because it was easy to do there. I think now I'm a little more, I get a little more out there, but I still think of my general audience. And I mean, San Diego's very different than Los Angeles. I mean, I always call us a big village. So I don't want to get too esoteric because I can scare people away. So even matcha tea mousse has been an interesting concept, and yuzu. And I'm trying to think, you know, we don't do well with chestnuts, making things with chestnuts, and pear's not a big thing. So I have to be careful. And if something doesn't sell, we don't make it again. We eat it, then we're over it.
So what about icing? When you're trying to decorate with icing and there's that fondant.
We don't work with, yeah, we don't work with that at all.
So what is your, I mean, I'm sure you have quite a few people. Can you give us a little idea of good icing that you can decorate with versus, and that will hold up?
Well, for icings, we only either use, and they're in the book, buttercream, and it's a French recipe from Cordon Bleu. I have never done anything different than that. I've used that since 1985. And otherwise, we use ganache, which is chocolate and cream. And then we don't really use a lot of icings. We use an icing on our cupcake. Icings are American baking, and I'm just kind of getting used to that a little bit because, you know, homemade desserts are coming back in, so I'm dabbling with it a little, but it's not something that I'm trained with specifically. Icing in France is usually powdered sugar, egg white, and a little lemon juice, and you use that for making fancy cakes that are fondant, so I don't use that a lot. And in American baking, we see it on the top of a lot of cupcakes, we see it on a lot of our banana cakes, carrot cakes, old-fashioned kind of things. And, you know, I guess it's safe to say we're very much different than old-fashioned's not our genre. I don't think so. That's why I was encouraging you. I was telling you how easy it is to take the Linzer to and from, and the Viking, and yeah. Okay? All right. Oh yeah, definitely take pictures. Yeah. Thank you. I'll put this one.